Hi everyone, I'm Shelly and you're watching There's No Place Like Home. Before I start, I would just like to remind you that YouTube disables my comments, so if you would like to ask a question or leave a comment, you will have to do so over on my YouTube community page. And I also ask that you would like, share, and subscribe. So I've been getting a lot of questions, and it's not just recently. I've been getting these questions for years, and I just never really addressed it before, about how to keep your marriage strong while you are homeschooling. And I really thought that this was such an important topic that I wanted to extend it beyond just homeschooling families, but every marriage. So that's what I want to address with you today, is keeping your marriage strong, even if you're not homeschooling. So first of all, I have to just start this out by saying that my marriage is by no means any perfect, and there is no such thing as a perfect marriage. So if somebody tries to tell you that they have one, they are not telling you the complete truth. And really, that is okay because we are all humans. We all have our shortcomings, but really it's something that I think that we need to work on. Marriage isn't something that is honored as much as it used to be in years past. Nowadays, it seems to be something that is thrown away very quickly. If it doesn't seem to be working for someone, they just get divorced and don't really look back on it. But I have been with my husband for 28 and a half years. We have been married for 23 years, but we've been together for 28 and a half years. And we have had our ups and downs. We have definitely not had smooth sailing throughout our lives when it comes to our life in general and with our marriage. And to be quite honest with you, there were several years back when we did tend to argue a bit. And what I realized was that my outlook on our marriage was not helping our relationship. Because as a believer, we are called to keep Christ as the center of our marriage. And I was not doing that. I specifically was not doing that. And I was also forgetting about biblical submission. So when it comes to biblical submission, I know this is something that's like a hot topic for some people. My point of view is this. Biblical submission, in my point of view, does not mean that I cannot give my husband an opinion. It doesn't mean that I cannot respectfully voice disagreement with him. But what it does mean is that when it comes down to it, my husband is the head of our household and he is placed there by the Lord. And so it is up to him to make those final decisions and I am to honor them. But again, I have to point this out. It does not mean that I cannot kind of give him advice and share my point of view with him along the way. And I think that this is where a lot of people differ with me. A lot of people think that wives aren't supposed to voice their opinion to their husband at all, but God put us here as our husband's helper, and we are not helping if we happen to have something in our mind that they might not have considered when it comes to making certain decisions. So really, getting back to when I realized that my whole attitude was not helping my marriage. What I was doing was I was focusing too much on myself. I was focusing too much on my own comfort. When my husband would ask me to do something, I would immediately think about how it was an inconvenience to me. I would lose my patience with him, and anytime that I was not able to get my way, I was very moody about it. And then that was when finally I realized that, yeah, I was not living up to my call as a Christian wife. And I wish that I would have looked up where this is in the Bible. But this is actually a verse that I use with my kids a lot. And it's this: in all humility, consider others' needs as more important than your own. And I was not doing this with my own husband. So what I wanted to share with you are some ways that I changed things in our marriage. And to be quite honest, our marriage it is so much better than it was all those years ago. And really, it doesn't take any sort of big change. Well, yeah, there's lots of little changes. That's really what it is. It's not like a huge change. There are little changes, just little things that you can do in your marriage. And it's going to vary because, your husband is going to be different than my husband and they have their own preferences. But I'm hoping to just give you some ideas onto some things that I've done that have really just helped our marriage to have a much more solid foundation. So, first of all, be happy or be excited to see your husband when he comes home from work. I know that a lot of times I see women commenting that their husband is going to be home and they're kind of grumbling about it. I'm not like that at all. I am one of those people that I'm excited about when my husband comes home from work. And in fact, when we used to live in our old house, we had a window in the door, and I would always stand at the window in the door with my face like this, and I would watch for my husband. And I would even watch him pull up in front of the house and walk right up to the door. And it became a joke because he would always see me there at the window and he would kind of shake his head and roll his eyes. And my kids would call me creepy. But really, they thought it was funny. And be excited for when your husband comes home, because how the attitude that you have when he sets foot into your house really can set the attitude for your entire household. So the second thing is be welcoming when he comes home. Make home a place that your husband wants to come home to, you know. Now with me homeschooling so many children and just having so many children in general, our house gets pretty messy pretty quickly. So what I actually started doing was we made our chore time to be about an hour before my husband is usually home from work, so that when he comes home, he doesn't come home to a complete mess from homeschooling. Now, does that mean that it is always perfect? No, because again, since we have so many kids, messes happen quickly. But we keep it as presentable as possible when he comes home. Now, what I usually like to do is I love scented candles. So I will usually try to have a scented candle lit, or a lot of times when it's cold outside, especially around Christmas time, I'm always in the mood for baking. I like to have something in the oven baking so that when he comes inside, you know, not only does he see that presentable house that you've made for him, but that, you know, he can just smell the welcoming aroma. And I always have his coffee ready for him, and he always asks for 2 pieces of salmon, which actually my 16-year-old daughter makes for him because I'm terrible at salmon. Every time that I try to make it, it completely falls apart, and she's like a pro at it. So yeah, my daughter is the salmon maker. I'm not even going to try to take credit there. But really, again, make your home a place for your husband to look forward to coming to. So this next one is really, really important. When your husband comes home from work, don't throw your kids at him. And this also even includes while he is at work. Don't constantly text him or call him every time that your kids are misbehaving so that you can complain to him. I get it. I get that it's stressful, but what we often don't think about is that our husband is likely dealing with stress that we don't even know about while he is at work. And so often I've seen articles or posts where people will talk about how women will talk about when their husband gets home, the first thing that she does is hand off the kids because she says to him, "It's your turn." And then she will leave and have a little bit of me time every day. And I get it. We all need to have time to ourselves once in a while. But we don't know what our husband has been through while he has been at work all day. And I realize, as a mom of many, I know that being at home with our kids is not easy. But the fact is that when we're having a bad day, when we don't feel good, when we're stressed out, we can make the decision to just sit and watch a movie with the kids, or take them to the park, or go on a walk, or even to just lie down and tell your kids that they can go play. When your husband is at work, he doesn't have that option. He can't just decide, "Oh, I'm having a bad day, so I'm just not going to do my work." They have obligations that they have to do while they are at work. And I don't know if you have a husband like mine. My husband does very strenuous work. He does a lot of heavy lifting. He works in a very hot place. And the last thing that I want to do is just throw my kids at him every single day when he gets home. Yes, I realize that he is their father. And I know that a lot of people are going to be saying that. And I'm not saying that you should never, ask your husband if he could help with the kids, if you need help with something. That's fine. But don't throw them at him when he comes home, and don't have this attitude like, you had your kids all day, now it's his turn. Because what you've got to realize is that while you're thinking about how you need time to yourself, he needs time to himself too. All right, so the next, I feel like this video today is going to make a lot of people angry because, yeah, As you can tell, I'm not very feminist in my point of view. I think that the way that we treat our husband is going to reflect back on the way that he treats us. And again, I just want to go back to that verse. In all humility, consider others' needs as more important than your own. So, the next thing, now this is for those homeschooling families. I shouldn't say you should always do this, but if it's best for you, try to work your homeschool routine around your husband's schedule. Now, some fathers don't, they like to get involved with the homeschooling and they actually help with some lessons. So in those cases, obviously that's going to be different. But if your husband, really kind of just stays back and lets the homeschooling be your territory, I really recommend keeping your homeschool at a time when he is away at work. And here's the reason why. Because there are going to be times that your husband is going to require your attention or need to talk to you about something while you're homeschooling your children. And even if you are flexible about stopping, even if you are a relaxed homeschooler, there are still going to be times that you are not going to be 100% there for your husband mentally as he's talking to you, because you're going to have in the back of your mind a running list of all the things that you still have to do for homeschool. It happens. And he's going to see that. He's going to see that you're not really paying much attention. He's going to see that you are maybe getting a little bit impatient and waiting for him to say what has to be said. So honestly, the best thing for you to do, if it's possible, is to keep your homeschooling hours, within that time that your husband will be away at work, so that when he is home, he can have your full attention if he needs it. So the next thing is love on him before he leaves for work. So I used to just sleep in when my husband would go to work every day. But what I've done lately is I have made it a point to get up when he gets up for work. Now, thankfully, my husband doesn't get up at like some ungodly hour, but he does get up about 3 hours before we actually start our homeschool day. But what I do with him every night, actually the night before he goes to work, I will lay out all of his work clothes for him. I will have his socks ready, his towels, everything for when he takes a shower in the morning. I will wake up when he does. While he is in the shower, I will pack his lunch. Then I will make him some coffee. And then I'll just sit with him at the table. Now, my husband is not much of a morning person, so there's not a whole lot of conversation that goes on in the mornings with us, but really just being present with him there in the morning really is a nice send-off for him for when he does leave for work. And really, the last thing that I want to talk to you about, just it envelops everything that I've been talking about. Pay attention to him. Remember that once our kids are grown, our husband hopefully is still going to be there with us. And that is why you have to keep your relationship a priority. Too many people don't do that. A lot of people will have their children be their be all and end all, but then when their children leave, there's really nothing left between the two of them. You've got to pay attention to your husband. You've got to let him know that you love him. You've got to let him know that you are still attracted to him. And you know what? You need to honor him. This goes back to when I was talking about biblical submission. If you have a differing opinion with him on something, voice that opinion respectfully. Voice that opinion. And I know, and I'm not saying that I'm always perfect at doing these things. Sometimes, I mess up, and my husband will come on here and he will tell you that. But really, we need to honor our husbands, and we need to remember that God has placed our husbands to be at the head of our households. They are our protector, and we need to trust them, and we need to pray for them. That is also so important, is pray for your husband every single day, because again, you just don't know what he might have going on, even if it's just mentally, that you know nothing about. And really, that's all that I have. That's the only changes that I've made since I realized that I wasn't being such a good wife. But these small changes have changed everything about our marriage. That's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave it over on Instagram because YouTube disables my comments. And if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. And I hope you have a great day.